Well, our churches are closed again, so I'm filming this bit for our usual YouTube clip from the village green in Little Budworth, and I'll say why in a couple of minutes. The reading this week is from St Matthew chapter 25 and verses 14 to 30. It's the well-known and much-loved parable of the talents, and as with all good stories, it's got several layers of meaning. We're reminded, of course, how important it is to use our God-given skills and resources and time in the best possible way. But it's worth remembering that a talent wasn't a coin. A talent was a weight, and its value was determined by the currency that it came in. So, for example, it could be copper, it could be silver, it could be gold. Most usually it was silver, but it was the weight that mattered. But there's another currency here as well, and that's the currency of trust, because the servants that use their talents wisely are rewarded because, as the master says, they're regarded as being trustworthy. And the one who doesn't use his talent wisely, who hides it away in the ground, he is not trusted, and so he loses even that which he had. The servant who buried his talent, it's interesting, that one, because what he was doing was he was making sure that he gave back exactly what he was given. He was maintaining the status quo. And that was one of Jesus's real jibes about the religious authorities of the day. They thought that the law of God was absolute, rigid, unmoving, unchangeable. Their whole emphasis and energy went into maintaining this status quo. There was no sense of adventure. There was no sense of risk, there was no sense of God journeying with them into the unknown. It was all about, let's keep things as they always have been, as they are, and so shall they always will be. And Jesus would have none of that. God, he says, is a God who loves you and travels with you and shares your adventures and knows your risks and rejoices with you and weeps with you. The servants who put their talents to good use earned their master's trust, and the point is, not only did they earn it, but it was given as well. Over the past few months, churches, and indeed all places of worship, synagogues and mosques and temples and whatever, we've all worked very hard to provide a safe environment where people can worship together, and that's been greatly valued by many people. Not just people who come to church regularly. Quite a few folk who don't come that often have expressed how good it is to see that the churches have been open and the care that has been taken to make sure that they are kept as a safe space. We've had to take risks. We've had to undertake new challenges. We've tried some things that haven't worked. We've invented new things. But that's part of the journey. Life is never a status quo, and in fact we've learned many things during this period which I think will enrich us for the future. But I do think that the evidence shows that churches have gone above and beyond what was expected and demanded of them, and I'm very disappointed that in the new lockdown we've been asked to close again. And when the matter was raised in Parliament, MPs of all parties, and I emphasise that, of all parties, this is not a partisan issue, this was MPs of the whole political spectrum, were echoing what our archbishops have said. Please, can we either see the evidence why churches need to be closed, or can it be reconsidered that churches can indeed open? And I watched that debate with some interest, and it was quite clear that somebody who should have been listening had already made his mind up and wasn't willing to listen to what was being said. And I think that, to be frank, is a dereliction of duty. Doesn't matter what your own personal views are about religious practice and faith and going to church or whatever. What you practice as an individual is your concern, but if you hold public office, you have a moral and a professional responsibility to listen to those whose experience of life is different, and I was saddened to see that wasn't fulfilled. But I believe that the churches and all places of worship have shown themselves to be trustworthy. They have earned trust. They should have been given trust. And instead, we've been treated as the untrustworthy servants, and what we had has been taken away. And I think that's very sad. And if that sounds like a bit of a complaint, well, yes it is. And I think there's good grounds for it. When this new lockdown came into effect on the 5th of November, it was very close, of course, to Remembrance Sunday. And we were asked at quite short notice to rearrange our Remembrance Sunday services which we did very willingly, and I think, to be honest, very effectively. An awful lot of people have said how much they appreciated what was done at the Remembrance Sunday services, both at the War Memorial at Whitegate and here in Little Budworth at the War Memorial on the roadside. And we held those services out of doors, perfectly safely. Everybody knew what to do, and everybody behaved themselves perfectly. So, if we were able to do that on the 8th of November, why can we not hold services out of doors on the 15th of November? Because nothing's changed. We can put into place exactly the same policies, exactly the same procedures, and everybody who came acted with common sense and with courtesy. So how can it be right for us to be able to have a service out of doors on one Sunday when we're asked to, and then on the next Sunday be told we're simply not allowed to do it because it isn't safe? That doesn't make sense, it doesn't hold water, and I don't think it's really very fair. And the key issue here is trust, which is why I mention this in relation to this parable of the talents, because trust is an important currency. People who use their talents wisely and creatively need to see something positive and creative come out of that. Indeed, many of the nations of the Far East, that's how they've approached this whole pandemic. They have trusted people in their population, and those who have earned that trust have been rewarded, not punished. As our parable shows, the one who loses trust loses everything. Now, we all understand that we do need to live under wider and unusual restrictions. No one's quibbling that. But those restrictions have to be proportionate and reasonable. And random and unjustified restrictions on people's right to worship, with no evidence to say why it's necessary, is the stuff of the untrustworthy servant. And I think we deserve better. And I think we've earned the right for better. So I'm here on the village green, and one reason for that is because just alongside me is the fence between here and the churchyard, and the new rules tell me that this side of the fence I'm allowed to be and I'm perfectly safe, but the other side of the fence I'm not. And if anybody can explain that to me, I'd be enormously grateful. But also this side of the fence, you hope you can see behind me, we've got this wonderful new play park which was put in this summer. And it's the result, of course, of local people working together, many long hours of dedicated service, of imagination, of going the extra mile, people who, not just once, but week after week, month after month, year after year, have served this local community with dedication and with commitment. They have earned that right to be trusted, and we see the fruits of their labours. If we're to build a happier and a healthier society, we need to have an important principle, that people who have earned the right to be trusted are given that trust. We need to see some evidence that those who act in a trustworthy manner have trust placed in them. Because at the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, if people who behave responsibly and with courtesy and with graciousness are not trusted, then we're all poorer for it.